It's that time of the year once again. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Inside Line F1 podcast and Pits To Podium, or I think for this year, the Ferrari Hype Train. Welcome aboard. But no, jokes aside, welcome along, folks. It feels so great to introduce you to yet another season of our race coverage right here on the Inside Line F1 podcast and Pits To Podium. And I think it's about time where we can just bid goodbye to all of our social interactions on Saturday and Sunday. Right? Yeah, they were fun while it lasted. But see you in December, guys. Wow, what a time of the year. Feels so good. It feels like we are in the spring of the year, quite literally in terms of the season, but also in terms of just how upbeat we're all feeling to see this new season. And firstly, I've got to introduce myself. My name is Soumil. I'm the host of The Driving Force on Disney Plus Hotstar, joined by the former marketing head of the Force India F1 team in Kunal, who's now working as a motorsport consultant at the Sport Network in Norway. Clearly, Kunal, over the last couple of days, I've had this amazing urge just to watch Formula One. Now, the funny part is, if you can have something like that for a movie, you can just go in and maybe find out about the outcome, right? But the best part about this is you have to wait. But luckily, that wait is finally over.
That wait is finally over. By the time this episode is out, the cars would have hit free practice one or being getting ready for free practice one in Bahrain, I would say. And yes, it's the whole anticipation. First race of the week, first race of the season. What do we expect? What are the 5 things to watch for? What's the pecking order? And you know, we've already been given the first big news of the weekend. I know we're going to talk about it later, but that is Sebastian Vettel testing positive for COVID-19 and Nico Hulkenberg stepping in as a reserve for him, Soumil. So first big news in, I know we'll speak about it, but what's the one thing that's on the top of your list that you are waiting in anticipation for this weekend's Grand Prix?
For me, it has to be the pecking order, genuinely, because there's this great buzz and great uncertainty about who stacks up where. Now, we all know that Williams are very likely to be last, and we all know that Red Bull and Ferrari are very likely to be first, but everything in the middle is murky. We don't know just how far the midfield teams are, even if they are midfield teams at all. So that order just really baffles me out, and just Mercedes as a whole, because as we discussed in our last episode with Abhishek Takle, where we discussed the whole season and played a game of word association with each team, I mentioned that it could be the story like the boy who cried wolf, where they've always claimed that they've had a bad testing, but maybe now that they finally have had one, nobody's ready to believe them, including my dad, who claims that they're going to get pole and the win this time out. So where they stack up is genuinely so exciting to think about.
Yes. Come qualifying, you know, it's going to be time to take the sandbags off. It's going to be time to take all the fuel off. And nobody will be able to hide their true pace and performance. And, you know, for all the Drive to Survive viewers who've tuned in, like Toto Wolff said, you know, he loves motorsport. He loves the clock because it's the most honest thing. The clock never lies, as they say. So that's one thing I'm really looking forward to, much like pretty much everybody else. Which team stands where and which driver stands where. Of course, it's going to be just one session. That doesn't mean that's what stands for the whole season. But at least we know what's going to be, or what could be, the pecking order for the Bahrain Grand Prix this weekend, Soumil.
Yeah, absolutely. And along with the pecking order, there's also such a big air of uncertainty around the new rivalries. Now, I'll go with you on this one firstly, Kunal, because I've got so many fun combinations just boiling up inside my head. But which is, let's say, one rivalry that you'd love to see happen in Bahrain, which honestly we haven't quite seen so far?
What if we get a Schumacher versus a Verstappen? You never know. Yes, Haas went quickest in testing, second quickest. Max was, the quickest as well. But yeah, guys, in fact, that's what someone's trying to get at. He's saying we could have some really different or really weird rivalries thrown at us this season. You know, we've been used to Max versus Lewis and Sebastian versus Lewis. But hey, what about a Schumacher versus Verstappen, or a Schumacher versus an Alonso? And what's your pick, Soumil?
So I've gone for a bit of a quirky one. In terms of the quirky rivalries, I had one in mind. I know I've just forgotten it because I forgot to write it, but I'll go for the most serious one until I kind of actually remember what the quirky one was. But I thought that it'll be really fun to watch the battle between Verstappen and Sainz. because we all know the backstory. They all came into F1 together. Verstappen was always the guy and Sainz is always the second one. Now, finally, it seems like they could have equal machinery, or maybe machinery that's very, very close. I'm excited. I'm intrigued to think that what could potentially happen in this case when they go head-to-head against each other.
And
as for the quirky one,
I'm going to add to your Sainz and Verstappen thing. Sainz was let go off so that Red Bull keeps Max Verstappen. That's the
right.
key part. Imagine them going head-to-head and Sainz and getting the jump on Max to this year's title challenge. I mean, anything could happen, right, at this time.
Yeah, 100%. And another rivalry that I'm actually very keen on seeing now, call me a bit of an oldie, but I mean, I'm only 18, but call me a bit of an oldie in terms of wanting to watch old things. But Lewis versus Alonso could be true. If Mercedes really are struggling that bad, and if Alpine really are where they were last year, I mean, I'm fine with getting Hungry 2.0. I don't mind. I know that you don't either, because that is going to be such a fun one. But it's crazy that we get to see this. And it's so crazy that at this stage, we just can't tell who's going to race against who. I mean, for all we know, Lance Stroll could be fighting against Max Verstappen. It's brilliant.
I think I remember your quirky one, even though I know you didn't tell me this one. Was it Kevin Magnussen versus Nico Hulkenberg? Now, mind you, it could happen just for this race in Bahrain, even though it's a double header. But imagine a Magnussen versus Hulkenberg, since Hulkenberg is back.
Yeah, exactly. So that would be, as Nityan on the Pits To Podium team, who's our expert data analyst, has just written a minute ago on our Pits To Podium WhatsApp group. He said SMB Part 2. That would be awesome, even if just for a race. But think of it, Kevin Magnussen versus Fernando Alonso could be possible too. I mean, we last saw that in 2015. That was a lovely battle. Who knows if we could see that again? I'm loving this. It's perfect. We get to do so much of fantasy booking in a way.
We do, and the key to all of this is our second thing to watch for this weekend is the cars. You know, F1 and every single team and driver has been talking about it's easier to battle. You know, I remember Charles Leclerc actually gave a very mathematical answer to this, that when you're so many tenths away, that's how you feel, and you're so many tenths closer to the car ahead, and that's how it feels. And the overall verdict yet, and this could very well be a communication platform or the communication peg that Formula One's told the teams and drivers to put forward is, right, that the cars are easier to compete in, to go wheel to wheel battling on. That's what everybody's saying. The truth is going to be revealed this Sunday. Will the cars be able to race each other? Because that's eventually what this whole formula is all about, saying we are going to do whatever it takes to get really good looking cars, which we've got, that can go racing and that can allow drivers to go wheel to wheel in action. And guys, remember, I've always had this classification. I don't care if an overtake happens at the end of a battle. All I want is the battle to happen.
Exactly that. Because Imola 2005 and 2006 as well, we didn't have a million overtakes, but a fun race that really was, right? So that's the case. But we can't tell from testing, as always, because you always see some close racing in testing, right? So you can't really tell if the cars are that much better. So Sunday is the day when we find out. And I'll add to that list of quirky rivalries. Schumacher versus Hamilton, Kunal. Think of it.
Wow. That's another big one.
Oh, man. But my mind is becoming a melting pot for so many of these. But hey, that's the cars, right? And the cars will be supported by, in a way, the tyres. Now, lots of things are happening to the tyres. Firstly, it's the debut of the 18-inch, what do you call them? The 18-inch tyres, in a way? Because, not the tyres are of 18-inch, but the spokes and the wheels are of 18-inch. I'm missing the exact terminology for that.
Yes, it's 18-inch tyres. That's the right tyre. That's the terminology.
Okay, that's what they call them.
Yes.
Okay, so the 18-inch tyres debut for the first time. We've seen them in Formula 2 for a couple of years, but also, Kunal, free tyre choices. So that Q2 rule is gone now, which means that we could see even more volatility.
Yes, the key question is going to be, are the Pirelli's new tyre compounds susceptible to overheating when in battle? Because that's what used to happen with the previous era of the tyres as well, up until last year. And one of the things that the drivers had requested Pirelli was to give tyres that are more durable when they are in battle. So the drivers are ready for battle. The cars, they say, are going to be ready for battle. Let's see if the tyres actually hold up. And yes, the free tyre choice is critical. It's going to have an important it's an important ingredient when it comes to race strategy and qualifying strategy. So let's see how that evolves, because for the last 7-8 years we've had this Q2 rule in existence. So I'm really glad that they've dropped that rule altogether. And since we are sticking on this whole conversation of battles, we also have a new race direction and a new race structure in place. The hope that we all have from this weekend onwards is that the FIA are far more consistent in their application of rules, especially when it comes to wheel-to-wheel racing.
Oh yeah, that's basically the biggest change that we could ask for, apart from a budget cap and, let's say, more closer teams. I think this is what would come up next, because what's a sport if you don't have clear rules, right? So there's going to be that. But a word on who our race directors are, because now, of course, we have 2 race directors. So we're going to have Niels Wittig and Eduardo Freitas, respectively. They're going to be swapping around that role as and when. And I don't quite know who's going to do the role in this particular weekend, but we're going to have them. And they've actually done quite a fair bit of work in the WEC and DTM. So that's a decent bit of experience to have alongside. And plus, Herbie Blash is back. He's going to be assisting. And I think he's done a lot of work with Charlie Whiting previously. But to add to that as well, Kunal, that whole VAR-based structure that we're talking about in the world of Formula One, but there'll be a virtual race director assisting. Do you reckon it'll have a major impact as such on the racing as such?
That's exactly what we're going to watch out for in Bahrain. And I'm really hoping the VAR is tested. I'm really hoping that the race direction is tested, because we need them to be robust should an Abu Dhabi 2021 scenario come up in our lives again. And so that's one thing to look for. And Soumil, I'm also eager to look for the television graphics that we will see new for 2022. We had Priya Ponapalli from AWS a couple of weeks ago on the show. And she explained how AWS is working so closely with Formula One to bring us a better sport. So I am really looking forward to the new TV graphics as well. There is no word yet on what they're going to be. So maybe that's another suspense that Formula One's going to throw our way in the next few days.
I think they're going to bring out the F1 sprint type graphics where you could see the car up ahead and they had a name marker and you could see the live gap, like a video game essentially. And I would love to see that happen. It's just so much fun to see that graphic. But what more could they have in store? Because F1 is always working on something with AWS in that side. So that's going to be super intriguing. And maybe some changes to the broadcasting taste and flavor of it, perhaps, because it's been, 3-4 seasons since F1 has had the same graphics, I think. And Liberty Media would love to have a bit of a switch, something new, something special. So that could be up for grabs. And we really don't know. It's only on that Friday when we'll get to know what the intro and the graphics look like. But
the intro specifically, yes. The intro, yes. How
it's
much
strange.
more
it's
sitcom level?
Yet.
Yeah, how much more sitcom level can it get? Rom-com level can it get? Will it be a boy band? We don't know, but that's definitely one thing to watch for as well. But Soumil, your predictions for this Sunday?
Before I get to my predictions, I've got one request for Formula One. If you haven't made the intro yet, please bring back the liquid flag from 2018. That was the best. Seriously, that really was the best. But actually, before we go to the predictions, let's also speak about 2 drivers very, very quickly. Kevin Magnussen and Nico Hulkenberg. I think before this episode began, we were thinking, well, who could be our driver in spotlight? And Kunal chose Hulkenberg. I chose Magnussen. But it's an amazing story, isn't it, Kunal? That Magnussen is finally back in the most absurd of circumstances. Same can be said for Hulkenberg in a way. And finally, we get to see their battle continue on after 4 years now.
Yes, SMB Part 2 or not, let's see. But great to see Magnussen back, definitely. I think this is just the way he came back is, of course, not the most fortunate. And Hulkenberg, he's Super Sub or Hulkenback, as it's now known. So let's look to see how well he settles in. And he's had no mileage in the 2022 car, the real car, apart from the one in the simulator. So, he'll be at it from FP1. And COVID-19, as the world opens up step by step, could it play a factor as the season evolves? Because drivers will still be more social. People may contract COVID multiple times. Charles Leclerc has had it, right? So the question is, if you get it during a race weekend, how bad could it, impact your championship chances? Lots to ponder over for all of us through the 23 race calendar. But for this Sunday, What's your prediction? And for everybody wanting a longer episode, go back and tune into the one we released a couple of days ago with Abhishek Takle. Like Soumil said, it's a one-word association format that's been doing really well on our channel. And we went and said, what was the one word you could use to describe your expectations, hopes, or even emotions for every F1 team and for Formula One in 2022? So go back and tune into that. But Soumil, you're in the hot seat. What's your prediction?
I'm actually in the hot seat. It's actually 37 degrees outside, and I'm sitting in a leather chair, so it's literally a hot seat right now. But that aside, I am going to go for the same prediction I went for yesterday that I gave in the Abhishek episode, the word association episode, I should say. I'm going to go for Max for pole, Carlos Sainz for the win, for his first win in F1, by the way, and one midfield driver who absolutely shocks everyone, apart from Magnussen, as I've already given away, is going to be Valtteri Bottas. That's just what I think. But what about... Oh, actually, Guan Yu, Zhou Guan Yu is going to be making his debut in Formula One as well. So there's that happening too.
Yeah, absolutely. A debutant to look forward to. Yeah. But yes, I'm picking
and
Max
what are your
for
predictions
pole.
for him?
I'm picking Max for pole and Max for the win. And frankly, at this moment, I don't really care about Guan Yu Zhou. It's going to be... His statements are going to be, it's all about a learning curve for me. And it all depends how close he can get to Valtteri Bottas. So that's what it's going to be like.
How soon do you think we'll see Formula One drivers actually be replaced by robots in press conferences? Not the real drivers, but just, instead of them having to act like robots, maybe someday they'll actually place robots in that place. Just makes it easy for everyone, right?
It does. I really hope that doesn't happen. I love my press conferences.
Same, especially with good drivers. But let's see, I think it's going to be very organic this weekend to see genuine experiences and genuine stories from the drivers come out as they experience the racing side of this brand new Formula One formula, in a way, for the first time. And I hope you have a good time watching the race weekend, folks. Our coverage here on the Inside Line F1 podcast and Pits To Podium will be persistent. Follow us on social media. We've got lots of data analysis and graphs coming up as a result of our wonderful team working on it over the course of the weekend. And in case you're in Mumbai for this weekend, come to the stables in Andheri. We're having a fun little quiz before the race right there. Maybe have a fun time with us and you could win a couple of really good prizes over there. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. See you soon, and rather actually see you post-qualifying, because we're going to do that as well this year. Bye-bye, folks. Have a good one.